Well, thank you so much for coming on the interview, Claire. I really am quite excited to speak to you. I think with years of experience and a lot of our mutual friends has sort of have a very high regards in the work that you do, as well as more than the work, as you as a person. And so I think that speaks a lot, and I'm hence excited to speak to you. Welcome.
Thank you.
So maybe let's start with this first question is, when you're overseas and someone will come up and ask you, assuming that they don't recognize you, what do you do? So how will you answer that?
I'm good. And yourself? Have we met before? Oh yes, I remember. You start a icebreaker, warm up.
Yeah, and then it goes on to the age-old question and be like, wow, so you look very interesting. Like what do you do in your life? What are you doing?
Well, when it's an open question like that, and for someone who have lived at least 6 decades, you sort of wonder where you start. Then I will then see where this person is from, the context that I met her or him, and what I would second guess what's the purpose of him coming to me. There must be just a befriending gesture or wanting to ask something. So I will very quickly, in the half minute, have to do that summary of what this whole thing is about. And then I will just say that, well, I'm a volunteer. Or I could say, I work in the hospitality sector. So it depends. I suppose with different people, different times and situations, my answer will be different.
Actually, I want to dig into that a little bit more because I think I spoke to Violet and she said you have this sort of a gift of shape-shifting and relating to people. So what would you choose maybe when you meet? So how does that process look like when you choose what hat you wear?
I at this stage when I have come through a lot of experiences, I feel that one way I could contribute is to really see how I can connect the dots. That really means respecting and appreciating all the talents around me. And mind you, Singapore, there are plenty. It's just that we may sometimes not have the lens to spot it. And then once we spotted it, we may not know how to optimize it, and even more, how to maximize it by stringing them together to scale up, to create that bigger impact. Hence, just a minute ago when we were talking, I see in you the talent and the things that we are doing here. And I see the possibility then of using your platform and what I do to create a communication channel for books, for example. So I think it is really about respecting that everyone has something to offer in this world. And is to discover what that may be and how to link the various dots together to scale up. I don't believe in singular leadership. I do believe in team and collective effort. And I'm most joyous and happy doing that.
So, and maybe my question, a better question would be also, say in the half minute when you meet that person, introducing yourself as a volunteer versus introducing yourself as a business leader or grandma, or wife, like what are the few things or the decision making process that comes, when you put a label on yourself, I guess?
When someone is older and obviously not in the sector that I'm in, or probably will not have traveled that much, I will probably look at what she's interested in and ask her, what do you do? And then I would take it from there and then frame my interchange. Then if she's talking about family and her, then I talk about my grandmothering. I talk about my children. And if it is about someone who is, I will try to see what interests that person and engaged. If I speak to a banker, obviously, and a young person, they're not going to be interested in my grandchild or the family business sector. I then will talk about how's the banking today, and I immediately will talk about how about banking for women. She'll say, this is probably not a segment she thinks about. Then I'll engage. So in a way, I do like purposeful conversations. I chill, yes, small talk about food, talk about fashion, talk about children, etc. But I think every conversation, there's also a purpose. It could be just about love. It could be just about friendship. But that's also a purpose. But sometimes I feel that people are so busy, the amount of time they want to give to me, and vice versa. Sometimes we want to focus on something we can do together. And I always find at the end of it, it sort of enlivens each other. Therefore, we had enjoyed a fellowship. We also had a purpose, whether it's working on a book, or whether it's planning for an outing, or maybe working at a common cause, etc. So, in that sense, I like conversations. I don't like Skype. I don't like teleconferencing. I don't even like a phone call. I really like face-to-face conversations because that is total. The eye contact, the touch, the pitch, and all that.
We're going to do a side step. So I read that in the 1950s, you grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment in Racecourse Road, sharing a room with 2 brothers and...
2 brothers? I've got 5.
5? Yes. So all 5 in one room? I mean...
In the whole apartment.
Wow.
So at that time, we don't have beds. Mm-hmm. We have what we call the canvas beds. You know, the kind of foldable, like they use in the army, but it's much higher. I think you don't even know what that is. It's made of canvas with 2 cross sticks, and then you fold it up. So we stack it all up. So my brothers will all sleep in the living room with all that canvas. And we have a double-decker bed made of wood, and no cushion, no mattress. No mattress. It's just a cool mat because it's very hot. No aircon, of course, at that time. So when we were little, then we have 3 on the top, 3 below. Then they start to grow. Then they go up to the canvas beds. Then I never had a canvas bed, but I had that double-decker. Then my brother started to move out because my oldest brother is about 10 years difference. The youngest is about 3. So in a way, they started to graduate out of the double-decker bed, then out of that canvas bed, and then they started to go to army and etc. Then so over time, I slowly have more space. So I never had my own bedroom in that sense.
And how would you describe yourself as a young Claire, growing up, your personality?
Because I was quite sickly, between the years 2 to 3, I think I had some respiratory condition and I could not get out. And the doctors actually gave up on me. I remembered Mom was forever giving me this awful black soup, and I'll be asthmatic and I cannot breathe and I'll be sweating and they have to close all the windows to keep me warm. So, I was sick until about secondary 1. And even at Sec 2, I remembered every afternoon my brother had to take me to Chinatown to a place called Key Clinic for an injection for this whole respiratory condition. I actually get better with age. Doctors are not very optimistic about me. And that's why sometimes when women came to me and worried about their children, their cough, everything, I said that, look at me. The doctors gave up on me when I was 2 and 3. They gave up on me when I was in my teens. But my mother never gave up. She gave me the nutritional soup. She went to the Sinsei Chinese doctors. I went to, some Western doctors as well. And she put me to sports. She put me to dance and sports to build up my resilience.
Wow. Was that something you're interested in already? So she just give you a push, a nudge, or?
So I've always been an athlete. I was always, in primary school, I was a 15 meters dash. And then in secondary school, I played hockey, I played netball, and I danced. And then at A-level, I do softball. And then at the university, I continued to dance. And then even when I was married with my children, I do with my brothers the 2.4-kilometer run.
Oh, and that respiratory condition didn't like hinder you or, stop you from doing all that, did it?
No, because you can't get out too much. So what do I do when I was little? And my mother never gave up on me, on treating me, but my mother also never gave up on me in building up the ambition for me. So she put me to 2 schools. So although I can't play outside, and when I was at home, morning I attended one school, so afternoon I attended another school. So I was continually doing homework and reading. So in that sense, my affinity to books and to reading and writing, it's probably come up with that condition. So out of something bad, something else good comes.
Yeah, and with this amount of like tightness of time because you go to 2 school, right? How do you even squeeze, dance and all this run?
No, that was when I was young. Okay. Then the dance came out in primary school. Yes, when I was 6 or 7 years old. Yeah, it's every weekend. I had got a very good teacher who knew of my medical condition. I threw up very often, and she really looked after me. Huang Aizhen 老师. She's gone, she's passed on. So she will sort of like buck up with my mother, to make sure that I always have a change of clothes and that I come on Saturdays to the dance studio. So she looked after me. And then the sports part is slowly. So over the years, I have got teachers, coaches, mentors who really sort of watch out for me. And Mom, I think I'm grateful to for not giving up on me. And she didn't know how exactly, because Mom wasn't rich enough to think of vitamins or milk or meat. I had my first beef meal at 18. Because first she's a Buddhist, so it's never served in a house. And we have like chicken, like 3 times a year.
Oh, yes.
Because it's either Chinese New Year or my father's birthday, my grandmother's birthday. So the rest of us, no birthdays. My family has never celebrated my birthdays. So we grew up in a very different Singapore. I grew up in Singapore, which is 700,000 people. And when I was in the university, it was 1.2 million only. So we walk to school, we take the buses, and we play goalie, we catch spiders. We do a lot of self-created games and fun, chatte, hopscotch, things like that, Yeah.
So, moving on to school a little bit, and correct me if I'm wrong because I don't trust the internet these days. So I read that you are actually accepted into law school, and also you wanted to study nursing, and yet you end up majoring in sociology. So I guess maybe what are the sequence of events that happened that make you end up doing sociology?
I was very good in biology, and I was very interested in it because my older brother, 10 years difference, he was studying medicine. So he would bring home the skull and books on the human body. And I was younger and I was very interested in the human body. I was very interested in health and I wanted to be, but I didn't like science and physics. Oh. And you can't never become a doctor if you don't have those 2 subjects, right? But therefore I thought about nursing. But he objected. He just felt that, no, it's not something for me. My father and mother had no vocational guidance for me. They say my mother, her hope is for me to be a teacher. It's stable, it's secure, it's a woman's job, it's good. My father had a bigger ambition for me. He wanted me to be a chartered accountant to take over his business. But I saw the way he worked and I saw myself, no way. And I wanted to do nursing, but my brother objected. So as a result, I gave up. Then I went on to the A-level. I then thought of my first degree I applied for and was rejected for was architecture. I love buildings. I love the idea of creating something. Again, I didn't qualify because I didn't have maths. So that's gone. So I applied for law and social sciences. I was accepted for law, and my girlfriends came up to say, no, this is really not something for you, Claire. It's too cut and dry, it's black and white. Your personality is not that way. You're warm, you're people, you're community. You should go to social sciences. Again, lacking vocational guidance and knowing what you want at 17, 18. And your girlfriends, your best friends say this about you. Then you thought, okay, sociology, philosophy, history, all this sounds very interesting. So I said, no harm. I could always do a second degree. That's what I thought. Lo and behold, I did. I finished, and I then went to France because that's the only country that I could go away and enroll in without having to pay a lot of fees. I couldn't afford London School of Economics. I was accepted. I couldn't afford that. So Sorbonne was really like free education. And that's where I learned. And that was really my first turning point. Because I learned French and I discovered the sinologists and their ability with Chinese language. Blue-eyed boys, blonde, able to speak such excellent Chinese and reading classical Chinese on top of that. So I was a bit shameful.
So it's like Wen Yin Wen, that kind.
Wen.
Wow.
The classics. I remembered. And my Vietnamese, Laotian, Cambodian sisters, whom I first met also, were all sinologists, studying the Chinese in Kai Zi, not in Jianti Zi, you know. So that's recognition that I'm Chinese from Singapore. They all just came to me and asked me to teach them. And of course I couldn't do as well, you know. That awakening, I think...
On a poker face or...
No, I could read because I was from Nanhua. Remember, my first school was Nanhua. So in my cohort, I think my Chinese is pretty okay. Compared to these people, really, they are a lot more scholarly than I was. And that awakening to my own heritage and identity, it's so important. So when I returned from France and I worked in the French embassy, I started to read Chinese newspapers, books, write it and learn it, translate it for the embassy. So it was that awakening that led on to my pursuit in all things Chinese. And my interest continues today. And that's why I'm doing business development in China.
I'm curious to know a little bit when you sort of finish school and you have the choice of going out, right? Out of Singapore. Was this something that your parents were very supportive of?
My father was. Interestingly, although I'm the only girl in the family of 5 boys, and I have another 5 cousins, so I grew up with 10 boys, really. So you would imagine that parents are very protective. My father was really a learner, and that is something I respect and learn from him. He learned, and he had failed so many exams, but he continued to go and take exams on accountancy, and he continued to fail, but he never gave up. So my memory of father is always about on the desk, writing and learning. And then he will disappear for 2 days. He went to Hong Kong, went to Australia to take exams. He come home and says, I didn't do it again. I didn't make it. Wow. So it's okay. He'll go again the next year and do something. So that spirit of learning, I think, is something that I've gotten in. So when he heard that I wanted to go overseas and to pursue experiences, he was supportive. Mom was, and mom was not. But financially, they weren't able to pay me a monthly subsidy. Yeah. So I had to work. And get a little bit of stipends to keep going. I have to eat in canteens. So I've never eaten in a French restaurant when 14 months in France.
Just baguettes and...
No, school. French government was wonderful in giving us a nutritionally planned meal every day, whether it's breakfast or lunch.
And maybe another interesting thing to note, because is that Was that the thing that you want to do, going overseas to achieve, to get experience?
Oh yeah, in that epoch, to even go to Malaysia, Cameron Highlands was a big thing. It had to be like 3 months of planning with my mother and persuading her to say that I could go on this bus with friends to go to Cameron Highlands. Even at that time, to visit Jurong night market overnight or camping was a big thing. So going overseas, where you can't really make phone calls home, where if you do study overseas, you probably come back once in 3 years, it's like a long way for parents. Now that I am a mother, I understand the pain. At that time, I was saying, why not? But at that time, we didn't have all these conveniences that you young people have today. So it is difficult. It was difficult. But going overseas was like, yes, we must do it.
So, sociology. I'm just curious to know, how will you sort of personally define study of sociology?
Basically, it's a study of men or people in society, the tension and the competition. It had helped me understand why people behave the way they do and why the thought processes are this way within the context we are talking about. So people behave differently. The same person behaves differently in different situations. It helps to sharpen my understanding of behavior, thought processes, and relationships.
It does sound a little bit like psychology as well, and a little bit of archaeology.
Psychology is more the study of the mind and all the undercurrents and the makeup of the mind that direct behavior. Sociology is more about social factors. What's out there that we do as a people? What are the common factors? What is the competition and tension between you and me in the way we deal with society? What are the organizational life that affects the way we think and the way we do? So in a way, one is the mind, the other one is this out there. And it's also me, the I, and the society. And then the I and the me. That's where it is social psychological.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. And I guess we talk about the things that you have learned from sociology, and maybe a good question would be, what have you learned back then in sociology that is still continually used in the different facets of your life, being an entrepreneur, leader, mom, wife, and grandma? Are there any lessons?
There are many facets, yeah? I learned about the importance of self-agency. The I and the me tension within us, it's a huge debate. Do I do this because this is what society tells me to, what parents say I should, or what my husband says so? Or do I say this is what Claire wants? So every day is that continual debate between society and me. So it's something that you need to be cognizant of, that to know that very often how we are, what we believe in, how we do things, it's very often the other voice. It may not be Claire's voice. So then when does a Claire stand up? So, and it is Claire that's going to walk the journey, yeah? So that self-agency is something that I learned early. Nobody walked the journey for you. You have to walk it, but you have to walk it the way you want to. But you then have to define it constantly and continually in competition with the other. So that is basic sociology.
So the other, you mean?
The other could be big society, what the government says.
Right.
What community says, what the law says, so what parents say.
There's a tension between the other and the self,
yes,
and trying to identify.
First, you want to align, you go with, or you want to protest and find your own. You want to redefine and say the society says we all should get married. No, I'd rather not get married. I want to be single. And the society that you should go for engineering and science. No, I'd rather be a poet because that's really what I want. So there's always the other and the me that is in competition.
So by knowing that, how has that shaped your understanding of the world and hence the decision that you make?
So in a way, I begin to appreciate what I am, my success or my failure or the choices I make are not entirely my own, alone. It is contextualized and perhaps circumscribed and perhaps restrained by many other factors, by the other, by the boundaries of the context, by the rules of the game. So in a way, it curbs a little of the individualism and the freedom. But that's the me in society that I recognize. And that's one of the most humbling experience when I went to Parliament to know that Claire's voice and Claire's view is only one view. There are many other views that we need to also respect. And that's when you begin to be mature and realize that there are many other views that are just as important to respect. That's humbling because it then makes me less less competitive and less and more accepting and more respectful of differences and more able to then focus on arriving at a common ground. It takes away the obstinacy. It takes away the dogmatism. Also that ideological slant in anything you say and do.
So would you say that
it humanizes me. It also makes me appreciate the importance of community or collective. It takes away the individualism, yes, but it is a managed individualism.
So by knowing that, would you say you're more calm? How has that, shaped?
No, sociology doesn't make you calm. Certainly not. Sociology opens you up to many layers of meaning about anything. It is not so black and white, it's so simple, like mathematics, physics, and science. Sociology throws you into layers of meaning, 360 degrees of viewpoints, differentiation, and diversity. In fact, it can throw you off to feeling that, wow, what is the truth and what is reality? You probably even feel that there is no final say in anything. But that's also where the excitement is. So it is an open field of creative imagination while your empirical evidences help to substantiate that one belief you might come to. But there are many beliefs. So what is yours and what is mine? We have to work together. We have to prove it through our empirical observations, and then we formulate a tentative, more or less nearer to the truth understanding, but it's still only nearer to the truth.
And actually, I think that because one of my questions was about self-awareness, and I think just by putting yourself out there and fighting against all these different meanings of different viewpoints, you start to become more self-aware. Do you think so?
You become a lot more other-aware.
Other-aware.
Yeah. About other people. Then you also become clearer about your relationship with the other. And therefore, it's up to you, therefore, to make choices. Because ultimately, it's Claire who becomes aware of what the other people's viewpoints are and differences are. I eliminate, or I align, or I collaborate, or I compete.
Right. But it gives you
the self-agency. It allows me then to know the purpose of my behavior and my next step.
I can see how that is very empowering.
Very.
Yeah.
Very. That's why at my age, I could tell you who will not be my friends. And I will not care to spend time with. And I'll be able to differentiate people who have no, who will not be in my interest circles. Yeah. So I have a village, right? I have a class village. Tribe. My tribe. Yes. And in my tribe, of course, the core is my family. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm 长老, okay. The elder. Yeah. So I will have the circles of the village of people I include as friends. They are good people. They are people who are like-minded like me with the values like mine. Therefore, we can do things together, play together, work together, create value together. There'll be other people outside my fence. I can say hello, and if they need my food, I'll cook for them, but may not be in my circle. And there'll be other people I put in the forest.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, actually, I'm keen I'm curious to ask about the characteristics of if you're willing to share the tribe that you're building, because I think so one of the sayings that goes beyond is you are the average of 5 people you surround yourself with, and that's something that I really think is a good indicator. You know, if you want to improve yourself, just find some people that you're uncomfortable with and surround yourself with that kind of people. So in that sense, you know, with 60 years of experience setting rules and boundaries and creating frameworks, what is the evolution right now of the tribe? And
the first tribe is the 8 persons in my immediate family. My 2 older children are married, and I have a grandson by my son who's 35. So this is the immediate concern. So, you know, we have to do things to keep together. We set up a family council where we meet and talk and discuss about future plans. Okay. We actually take minutes with agenda and minutes, because the children have to be, in a way, organized. And people think that you only do work in the office. Family work is serious work too. It's professionalizing the understanding of how the family works, what are our duties and our roles. So that's the family council.
Just inject, what's the frequency of the...
3 times a year.
3 times a year? Okay.
Yeah, we just had one, in fact, over the weekend.
And it's a 1 hour session, 2
hours.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll be agenda and minutes, and then after that we circulate the notes.
Can I dive in a little bit, like what are the topics? If one want to set up like...
It could be investments. It could be business directions. Yep. It could be a new business development. It could be family vacations and any other matters.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. So the family council is really very important. So that is one. Then I have a clan council. A clan council. My Chiang clan and the whole clan. And now we have got 2 more in-laws, the Tay and the Debaye. So I will do a family day that includes everybody. So they'll come here, we will eat, swim, read, play tennis, play billiard, play mahjong. So it is family day. And we do that about 4 to 5 times a year.
And does this have agendas and minutes?
Excuse me, eat, play tennis, mahjong, you know, fun, and swim. Okay. It's bonding. Right. Yeah. But every year, once a year, I take my entire clan for holiday. So we set that week in November, after all the exams, a time, a venue, and then we say, you come. If you can come 2 days, good. If you can come to 5 days, wonderful. But that's, again, the clan bonding time. And to do this is having set up a fund. My parents has left us something, and we have set up a fund that sort of pay for the holidays for the clan. So all this needs planning, and it needs commitment. And the purpose? Keeping up the village. So there's the immediate, there is the clan. Then my friendship circles, I have a few. I have a few circle of friends with different interest groups. They are quite different, and therefore I enjoy each of these circles. So I go in and out of it. So I do things like organizing lunches, last night like organizing a reception to keep up the interest. So I will try to see where the talents are and see whether I could connect the dots. I string up a group of women or men and women or men to do things that I feel are purposeful and meaningful.
Okay, so on that note of friendship, so I mean, so those are not immediate relative and relationship that you're born into. What are the frameworks, or what are the no's and yes that you allow someone in or out? You know, is there a general rule? Or I can say personally for myself, if someone would complain or grumble, it's gone, like in forest, in your context. But at the same time, if someone who have the self-agency to change, I mean, like, yeah, let's test it out, you know. I'll give you a few things, you know, take it, run with it, and let me know how it is, what's the results of that.
People are never so clearly one or the other, you know. I think the bottom line is that I must like the person. It's simply affection, that I like her, even though she might be grumbling, and maybe she might be a bit difficult, and many people may not like her or him, but there is something that hit between us. So it must be somebody that I like, and somebody that I respect for something that he or that she does. Yeah, it could be a particular skill, it could be a special sharing that created that bond. So it's very different. It's not so clear a type that, you know, only those who have self-agency that I'll take you in. No, that become too instrumental. Yeah. I have people who are not competent but are great artists. And I have homemakers who really do not know what we are doing and don't really care, but make very good cakes. And is a good person. So I must like the person. Two, must be a good person.
No, I think that's a really...
Those are the two bottom line I have.
And I think that instead of like putting too many rules out, and that's actually a very clear and easy frame of reference.
It's inclusive.
Yeah.
It's inclusive. It's inclusive, but it really depends on my affection for the person, and also the respect that he or she is a good person. That's my fundamental criteria, a good person.
Moving a little bit on the note of self-agency, I'm sure you have met a lot of people, you know, who always grumble and complain, and then have this like lost sense of powerlessness to their life. So, what are the most effective practice questions or advice you have to impart the mindset of self-agency? And bear in mind, this might be a close relative, so you have no choice but to hang out with them. So how would you, or are there any ways that it can effectively impart them the mindset?
I don't think you can impart a mindset. When someone is feeling powerless, they are not hearing or listening to you. They can't. They do not have that calmness to hear what you say or to listen to what you say. So you can't impart. So if you're in a helping situation of someone who is powerless and you are there, the best gift you give and probably an empowering outcome is simply to listen. Simply to listen to the person. Because when she is able to speak out and take the monsters inside her or him out, that itself is empowering. Because she's beginning to see what is hurting her out there. And it becomes the other that she could stare at. And they started to see by you talking to her or she talking about, she suddenly realizes, actually it's not so serious. Actually, it may not be so bad. So letting that person speak is the most important behavior.
On that note of listening and speaking, are there any... What are most common mistakes when people, practice listening?
People hear, but they don't listen.
What's the difference?
Because it's just their words. Listening to the in-between lines. You listen to the pain, the meaning behind the words articulated. You apply your mind, your observation, your heart when you listen. That's why the Chinese ideogram for listening 是听。听的楷字 is written with 耳朵 the ear, and then the 一横一撇 the mind, 一个木字一个四字 use the eye, and a line in the center, a full stomach. You have to be comfortable. An angry person doesn't listen. Hungry person doesn't listen. And then at the bottom of that is the heart. And if you apply your ear, your listening, your mind, your eye, looking at the body language of the person, and then you use your heart to listen, the whole listening will have clarity like jade. 一个玉字. So 听 is a beautiful word that actually composed by all the skill sets in listening. And you listen with all the facets. So you can't be listening through Skype, email, SMS, etc. It has to be face to face so that I can see you, observe your body language. I am very happy, but you can tell the person is not. Are you fine? Silence. You therefore know the person is not. But you can't see that through a phone call. And then with your heart is that you empathize. You don't sympathize, you empathize. You don't, that person in her situation. So I will do a summary. That's where my sociology comes in. Life stage, where she is at. What's the situation? What are the immediate factors? What are her long pain, her short immediate pain? I have to do the summary, right? And all this, she doesn't need to say it. But watching her, I'm listening to what she said. I have all this background understanding that will impact on our exchange.
And say, for example, you're asking questions and she's talking about the monsters to bring out the monster, paint a picture of the monster. Are there anything that someone could use? I mean, people are listening to better help the person, be it questions. Yeah.
When people are immersed in their own pain or situation, they actually don't have the lens to see so broadly. They only see that pain and they only hate that person. They don't see around them the opportunities or the resources or the happiness. So you need to paint the picture so that she will broaden her lens to then raise the horizon to see it better. See it at a higher point, see it broader. And then she started to realize, yeah, I forgot. Or, oh yeah, that perhaps. She begins to see alternative and therefore not be immersed in just that point of pain. So that's important counseling work to do, is to listen, then paint and picture, which I feel is based on what she tells you, so that she, at that moment, is able to envision resources and hope. It's so important, the hope and optimism.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And to get in, maybe you could give an example of how you paint that picture. Say, we just take an example. Like I really hate someone, right? I'm just going to say Donald Trump, but not true. But I'm just any hypothetical person, and they have expressed that for you. How can you? What would you say to paint that broader picture?
You hate the person. Someone who tells you that they hate somebody.
Right, yeah, something.
I will probably find out what is the hate about. Is it hating the person's character, or hating what the person does for her, to her, or is it jealousy, or is it envy, or is it unreasonable? I will probably surround the emotion of hate as to what she is feeling, then to isolate it from what causes it, and then to ask and give a perspective of when she explains the anecdote that leads to that hate, whether I could interpret that anecdote differently so that she doesn't see it as that person injuring her, that she may have not gotten the right perspective. It could be a misunderstanding, it could be unreasonable, or there would be another way of seeing it. The other way, another way, an alternative way, always are very powerful to broaden the lens. And that always impact on the emotion. Maybe you're right, or maybe I was excessive, maybe I was too sensitive, maybe I was actually jealous of something. They will come to a certain reckoning by you interjecting with an alternative explanation.
So you actually just so you basically take that person or the thing that they hate and try to find out the root cause of it, try to isolate it, and then maybe while she was explaining it,
you frame another possible explanation.
Yes.
But you have to spend a large chunk of time just listening to her talking about the pain. Because that itself is 50% of the job done. She has taken it out of herself. Then your next 50% of work is easier. Then she'll be open enough to receive any new inputs from you. So you have to very carefully calibrate that. It is not that what she's feeling. You can't tell her what she's feeling is not reasonable either, right? Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. That's great. Yeah.
Giving time to people to talk is really a gift in this world that people do not do a lot of. Because very quickly we interject, we intervene, we instruct, we tell people what to do. I do that. And very often I have to hold myself and say, that's not the right way. It is just be there, using your eye contact, using your touch, be there and listen. And the person may come around and say that, actually it's no big deal lah. And then you say, yeah, when you were saying that, it could very well be, then you give an alternative picture then at the end of it.
Have you found any good ways to sort of like, once they have realized the realization of you, showing a different, okay, how would you nicely wrap out that little new piece of perspective and leave them with, is there any?
I'll always say that, give it a chance, give yourself a chance. Because no one can make you feel inferior or bad or angry if you do not allow them. So they suddenly realize, why am I so upset about this? I just eliminate or ignore her or him. Or I take a new viewpoint and try to accept him or her. Or forget it. In the end, it's self-agency again, right?
Yes. And how do you usually end that conversation?
Give yourself a chance, give it some time, and we'll talk again.
So it's like leave it open-ended.
Always. Yes. Because you have just gone through a process. And she's just come out of a pain. She's shared in confidence what caused her pain. You have provided a new picture. It doesn't mean she accepts it. She may not. She needs to digest it. Leave it at the point where there's a closure of that we agreed that we could give it time. And then you say, we can talk about it again in 2 months. You may feel differently. And then when you next see her, how did it go? She might come to you. I dropped her. I dropped him. Well, I forget it. That's all, different way. Time is the best coach.
No, I dive in a little bit more into that topic because I was just speaking to a couple that I planned their wedding for. I used to be a wedding planner, still am. And I was just having this wonderful conversation in regards of asking questions instead of telling, like what you mentioned, and then there come the realization, and then so I was probing a lot about like, how would you, when you come to a realization, what would you feel would be the best thing to do? Is it words of comfort after you came to the realization of the viewpoint? And so we came up with this, which is to move him or her away from that topic to another person. So the question is, so who else do you think have share the same point of view? Or basically trying to take, it's not your fault, and let's look at the same topic again, but from another viewpoint, and sort of like re-emphasizing and sort of relearning and sort of recapturing the points that we talked about in those questions before.
All this will not happen at the first contact.
Yeah.
Really, it's the intangible that is actually more powerful. The being there to listen, giving support by hugging, the human touch, those are actually more important. And those are actually more empowering than all the words and the alternative picture and words at this point of pain really do not matter.
Got it.
In fact, they aggravate.
Okay. So moving back a little bit up to the topic of self-agency, self-urgency, are there any things that you show or tell or present to them to sort of change their mind on taking a back seat on life versus taking an active role?
So in this recent conference I did in a women's summit in organized by Forbes in Vietnam, I found myself listening to the speakers when they were talking about male prejudices, the glass ceiling, all that. 30 years ago, we talked about it. 30 years later, we still be talking about it. I found myself saying, hey, gentlemen and ladies, get over it. And I said it again last night. I suppose when you come to my age, you're going to realize that a lot of things are not going to change, or they're going to change very slowly. Do we continue to let all these barriers and challenges impact us, what we want to do in life? Or do we just get over them by saying that they are there, so what? Move on. Then the next question is, what do you move on? I will move on appreciating what I have and want to do and see how I can mobilize my resources to get things done. That self-agency comes back again because after all, your universe and your village is a tiny little one compared to the whole world that which you try to save. I can't change the laws. I can't change governments. And why should I? But I can change myself to ways that I can better the world in. I can change the way I organize in my company. I can change the way I relate to my husband. I can change the way I parent my children so that I can allow this to be the vision of the society I define. It's within your control. So get over all these barriers because there are plenty. If you allow all these barriers and challenges around you, impact on you, you'll never walk out of the house and you'll have terrible mental health. So get over it. And then what do you do next? Just do it. Do what you like. Do the best of what you want to do and maximize the resources around you. And there are plenty that help you. There are sisters, brothers, cousins, friends, bosses who are there to help you. Then you have to learn the way to navigate to get this help by being yourself a responsible, proactive person. And again, it comes back to self-agency.
I love it. On the note, actually, maybe let's do that. On the note of mentors and mentees, I think you have received mentorship from a lot of advice from a lot of people, and you have given out a lot too. What are some characteristics of the best mentees that you have noticed?
Mentees.
Yes.
They don't give up on me in finding the time to see me.
Okay.
There are mentees whom I've lost or then I do not relate to, because you make appointments, they don't turn up, or they make appointments without giving you enough notice, so we never got to meet. So making the point, making the effort, and having the commitment to meet your mentor is the first principle.
Yeah, foundational. And those who stand out, what characteristic do they have that makes them stand out?
I get irritated sometimes by their badgering, but I also respect it because they really want to see me. And then they want to see me, they have a purpose, and I do not mind that. I like their purpose and focus in getting to what they want. And I think if it aligns with what my interest is, and I think what they want, it's good, I will be there. If it is entirely something that I feel is selfish, not something that I like, then I will not be there. Right? So I think that the mentee-mentor relationship is a tenuous one, but it could develop to become one characterized by deep affection and respect. So it's very important that you give time and you give respect for what each other is doing, and then you also discover possibly the alignment, so that we have the multiply effect when we are together. So that it is mentee-mentor, but then we have a purpose, and then we enjoy each other's company, and we mutually learn and reinforce, whether it is in terms of a qualitative nature or something that is purposeful. It's all possible.
I'm taking a side step here. This question, this new question actually, I really enjoy. Who has been your darkest teacher?
Darkest teacher meaning?
I mean, you can take it however way you want.
Darkest doesn't sound very positive.
So it's both a positive and a negative. I think a teacher is positive, and then being dark, but also seeing the quiver of light in that. This is just a random question I'm throwing out, but we can skip it.
No, I try to understand.
Okay, yeah.
The best.
So darkest is actually a negative connotation to it, and the purpose behind that question is more so to show others or create an avenue to speak about maybe a person they didn't enjoy that much with, but you still actually get to learn, and maybe other people who are listening can see that light even with people that don't enjoy, but still can learn from them.
I think there's one ability of myself that I really respect and appreciate, and that's my ability to say no to people I don't like. So I find that during my childhood and as I was growing up and among my friendship circles, even in courting days, I don't get to relationships with people, whether it's in a teaching career or whether it is, in a working environment. I don't get there. I don't get there to let them impact on the way I feel. And if I anytime feel uncomfortable or felt slighted or felt neglected, I will take stock and I will be away. I do not fight it. I do not get in there to be influenced because the world is so large. The friendship circles are out there. Why do I want to work so hard with someone who is negative, or even though she be brilliant? But if she is brilliant yet negative, I'm not going to appreciate that brilliance, because the emotional part of me would have been the barrier for me absorbing and embracing that conviction. It's going to be a very hard and tough process. Why do I do that? So elimination is the first tool in psychology on restoring mental health. So I'm telling young people today, there is basic mathematics you need to learn in life. 加, 减, 乘, 除, add, subtract, divide, and multiply. You add value in your own life and with people you like. You add value or you create value. So you always multiply. You can have more children, you add. You can have more money, you create. You add value. Eliminate. You eliminate unnecessary activities that are not useful, purposeful, and meaningful. You divide, means you delegate. You create divisions of labor, whether it's yourself as boss with your colleagues, or whether it's at home, household, shared household tasks, or anything. You don't do it yourself. You divide your success goals into bits of possibility, working with different people. And you work clever, multiply, a multiply effect. I could be listening to a movie, a series is running on. I could be packing my room, or I could be reading and doing some very inconsequential sort of emails or reply and still listening to a movie. Multitasking. So multiply effect. Or you do something where you connect the dots that will impact on many organizations and many networks. So one purpose, one collective effort allows the flourishing of many impact. That is multiply effect. 加减乘除.
I mean, I would even add on to that a little bit for anyone who's hearing, is that subtraction, more than often, is the lowest hanging fruits. And it's easier to subtract. So many people will be like, how do you increase this network of friends who make you uncomfortable, right? I would say, don't start with that. Start with subtracting the bad friends that's taking energy away from you. Yeah, it's probably the first step you should take in terms of this 加减乘除, right?
But contrary, it is actually the most difficult. And it is least done among many people. Why? Because there are friends who have been with you for some time. You do not know that they actually are hurting you, or they are actually negative influence. You may not know it because you like the person or you think that person is great, but that person may really not be the sincere friend. Or that person may develop and become different in the way they think and do things. They're actually taking away your effort. So you really should say goodbye. Not say forever, but to put him at bay so that you can come out and be yourself. It could very well be your father, mother, brothers, boyfriend, husband, and good friends, because they are so close to you, and what they say is so important to you, but what they do can also be restraining the possibility of you blossoming in that direction. Like if my brother hasn't said no to me on nursing, I maybe could be the best Florence Nightingale. But then all that I have now would have been so different, right? Yep. So it's a mood question too. But every time a door closes, another door opens. And why it opens? Because you opened it. If someone opens it, you walk through it. Too often, we don't eliminate, and then when we eliminate, we get depressed because we don't go and find another door. And then when the door is open, we may not walk through it because we're too lazy or we're too scared. So we don't seize the opportunity. So many reasons for journeys,
And I think you brought up a very important point too. I think I've gone through my journey of elimination just by accident because I went traveling backpacking for an entire year. So all my friends, I'm literally starting anew when I came back. So I guess maybe how would you recommend one for people who are listening and want to eliminate some bad relationships? Is there any tactful way to go about doing it, or something that doesn't cost them that much stress?
Someone who you know that are in a bad relationship.
No, so you want to eliminate some bad relationships in your life. Are there any tactful ways to go about?
You're talking about boy-girl relationship?
It could be any. I mean, is there a difference?
I would just walk away. I would just walk away, and people will know. If you ask me for lunch 10 times and I say no, you got the message, Or if a tactful way, you could continue to talk on the phone rather than meet. You could. People are intuitive animals. they sense you're wanting to meet for what purpose. They will sense your friendship or your boundary that you are setting. If they are not intuitive, then they're not actually applying their sensibilities. Unlikely. People will sense it. So you don't need to work that hard, you know. So on one hand, you're right that it is easy to eliminate. Yeah. But cognitively, it is sometimes hard for people to eliminate what hurts them. You know, like people who are in domestic violence. You would think that they should just walk away and go and make a police report.
Right, right.
They don't. Because there is still the love, that reliance, that dependency, and children involved, right? So you can't eliminate so quickly. You'll hate this boss. You can't just eliminate because you have the security factor involved. You can't just walk away from your bacon because you need to pay for the mortgage the next month. You can't eliminate sisters or who are friends or real sisters because they have been with you for the last 2 decades. So it takes a courage to step out of comfort zone or what you are habituated to say no and start anew. But to be able to do that is really giving you a new lease of life. And the opportunities are boundless there. So that's where assistance needs to come in, whether it's from friends or from counselors, to help you make that change.
I really like that point because it really just shows that it's hard and sometimes it's not very easy to just say no like right away. But maybe the first step is being aware of that relationship is whether it's taking energy and not or giving energy away from you. Yeah. Then slowly creating that boundary or that wall and building maybe alternative routes or finding your bacon. Then having that courage. Maybe then it's not courage. Maybe then it's already you have all the tools you need to move on. You know.
So there's one dictum in Chinese that's actually very important. It's really like my motto. 知己知彼，百战百胜. You know yourself means you know all your strengths, weaknesses. You know yourself. You know your limitations. You know where you're good at, where you're not good at. Recognize it. We are not perfect. You know yourself. You know 彼. P is the other. Whether it should be a battle or your opponent, whether it is your boss or whether even your husband or whoever, the other in the interchange. Right? You know yourself, you know the person. In that context, you are able to work it. Whether it is the purpose, the agenda, the process, the approach. 知己知彼，百战百胜, you win all the battles.
So moving back a little bit, it's just like conversational parkour. So when I was doing my research, actually, so I noticed that, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, both you and KP, your other half, strike me as a wanderlust and a romantic at heart. You spend a big part of time backpacking extensively and frugally, staying at $1 hotels, and coughing your night away. And even when you're in Hong Kong doing your graduate studies, you have to stay not in the Kowloon, not in the Hong Kong island because you're trying to save money.
We could afford anywhere else, not save money.
Yeah. Is there a story that encapsulates your earliest traveling experience?
We are both trained in development economics and sociology. Me, sociology, him, economics. And I was very motivated by my teacher who gave us the first question. What are we developing for? What is modernization about? What is the final impact? To create value in terms of dollar terms or to create value in community wellness? That brief, what I learned in 21 years old or 18 years old, and after in my postgraduate when I do my master's in Hong Kong, or what I'm doing now, or even just a decade ago when I'm in Parliament, the questions that I raised, it's still on the same brief. So I have not changed in my investigative query. So that is the sociological imagination in me. So now I ask the questions in the Shireen Foster program that I'm managing in SMU. I ask, How has the city of Singapore developed? The city plan that you see, how has it delivered its promise to deliver to the Singapore people quality living? And I'll say yes. And I can say some aspects, no. Then how can we improve? So it's when you question, it starts a conversation and debate. And then you start to look for solutions. So KP and I love conversations like that. We always ask what if, and then we can not only just see about Singapore. So we love to see, what is Malaysia doing? What is Indonesia? What's Thailand doing? So we travel. And we love cultures. We love heritage. We love...
You guys met first and then
travel together. Yes.
Ah, okay. So your traveling wanderlust starts together, or have you both separate are travelers already?
We are travelers already. Yeah. As I said, but for my travel was like, between Malaysia and Singapore. It was a big thing to go to Cameron Highlands, and all that. Travel is very much part of our spirit. For KP, because he was born in Thailand, grew up in, he came back to Singapore only about 18 to do the army. Yeah. But he was really like traveling around, studying in the States, went to Taiwan and grew up in Thailand. So in a sense, we are travelers. So when we were together, we both love history, culture, heritage, and development debate. Therefore, we need to travel to understand. And he was a journalist. I didn't marry a businessman. I married a journalist. He married a sociologist. So we are both workers of the mind rather than of business. So we were traveling around for him when he was writing stories. And then in that travel of doing his work, we begin to feel the need for closer understanding to what this development is all about. And that is the first, I think that's what seals a romance.
Actually, so I really want to ask you about traveling, because, during the 1980s, you came back to Singapore, and, what are some of the events that happened in those years that made you sort of like, sacrifice a little bit of that wanderlust, the sense of time for your both of you guys and for yourself, and coming back to take on a more, leadership roles in pushing for the cause that you want, or it was just...
I didn't sacrifice any wanderlust. I have traveled even more after I got married, because our job is about traveling. So in a way, in that 12 words in Chinese that describe my travel and wanderlust and work and family. 游山玩水,吃喝玩乐 都是工作, meaning my job is hunting for the next banyan tree. That's in business development in China. And KP and I traveled a lot together to understand the hospitality sector. So we traveled to Hawaii, we traveled to wherever there are beautiful destinations to learn. So when we started to develop hotels, we travel. And now I'm doing business development in China. I travel. I travel with the children, whether it is one or it is two or all three together. We travel every year. So I have never stopped my wanderlust. I will do it. I will continue to do it while my legs are able to travel, because I think is life education. It's the biggest life coach opportunity.
Moving a little bit to marriage, right? This was also about the time you had your first son, Ren Hua. A question that a lot of listeners is fascinated by. So how do you juggle your time raising a son and taking on a leadership role in many different causes, and on top of that, then there's work.
So I found myself telling women, you can have it all, but at a longer span of time. For men, it's a very linear engagement. You study, you get a degree, and you work, and you become a husband, and you become a father. It's a linear development, seamless. For women, it's not like that. It's zigzagging. So for Ren Hua, my first son, I took a decision not working at all. For 2 years, we have no help. We learned everything from pregnancy to gestation, to breastfeeding, to cooking, to mending the house, to raising a child. I attended Montessori schools. So I did my own life education about family work. There's no school that teaches us that. It's yourself taking a decision that you want to learn this seriously. And I really did that. And so I feel that I'm a very competent mother to talk about breastfeeding. I breastfed all my 3 children. I talk about shared household duties between husband and wife. We negotiate, we learn to work out ledgers of duties between each other. So this is between husband and wife because we both create the family. We both need, therefore, to share in that in those duties. Yeah, and raising Chihuahua is therefore both KP and my job. And wonderful, I have the clan. I have my brothers. I'm still my mother then, and so when we travel, sometimes we have Chihuahua parked with my elder brother. And he remembered those days when he was relating to Papa and to Uncle. And it's a different kind of socialization experiences. It's not at all bad. There's sort of no need for women and men, mother and father to feel that they have to be 24 hours with the child. As long as you have provided the care environment and given certain rules to the child and to the clan that's helping you, it'll be fine. So I've gone through a full-time motherhood with Renhua. My second child, Yong, my daughter, came. I went into part-time work. And when the third one came at a very late stage, and I was already 42, I was already full into Banyan, and I was really a full-time employee or worker or a co-founder or what you call it. Yakyok and we call it. I was fully in the throes of work, and that doesn't affect me wanting it all. But then it is really a lot about time management, household management, and people management. And the people includes husband and the children. All of us have to be doing our part in contributing to the household happiness. It is not Claire's job alone.
I want to dive in a little bit into the 2 years. Did you know it was a 2 years when you set up for it, or it was an indefinite period, or?
For the first 2 years?
Yeah, correct. Did you know it was 2 years when you started the 2 years?
No. But when I was doing that, I was still doing projects. Huh? It doesn't mean I don't work at all.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I just do a little projects like with oral history. I did the oral history project. For example, it's not a huge lot of money, but it's keeping me engaged. But I was attending Montessori workshops to learn about the Montessori principles. So I am still, in that sense, at work while in the family. There's a distinction here that we need to make. A woman's work is quite diverse. It is self-work, it's family work, it's children's work, it's work. Right? I don't know whether a man sees it that way, but I think I'm seeing a generation of men beginning to appreciate it in a diverse way as well, which is therefore good. But in my epoch, I just happen to have a husband whom I train well to adopt these bits and to therefore create these bits, the self bits, family bits, community service bits, and the public service bits. We all have our bits to compose what we call our lives. Yeah, it is all important to us. So it is not whether it is 1 year or 2 years that we contribute to house of a public service or we feel that we are sacrificing. No, it all happens all at the same time, and we do not put them away and we do not chronologize them. They are all important values to our sense of wellness. We want to, at the same time, taking care of a child, at the same time working, at the same time contributing to the community and doing things that we like as a family. So I think we can have it all. If we have the vision of what we want, then we allocate the time to get there, and we eliminate all the unnecessary activities, or we learn to work smarter so that we create the time and value that help us have it all.
You see, I mean, from my perspective, it seems like the 2 years was a lot about learning, was a lot about, defining what you want, defining the objective, and then hence, at the third one, at the second and third one, you learn smarter ways of working with. Does it is that way?
The 2 years was simply learning about mothering, about taking care of house. I just got back from Hong Kong after 4 years. We didn't even have a house. We rented a flat, and we have no help. So it's this learning about setting up home, learning about the pregnancy, then after learning about breastfeeding, about cooking, and about preparing for the baby and raising the child. So it's an invaluable 2 years because it sets the foundation for me about being a mother and being a wife. And that certainly directs my effort and contribution to the second child. And by the time the third one came, it was like, done it all. I know what I'm doing. I'm more or less, it's okay if he sort of threw up the milk, no big deal. And if it's his first fall, it's okay. Just, put some cream on. Yeah. Not so easily sort of fazz out, and it was wonderful. By the third child, you really enjoy it. And now with a grandchild, even better. Not my problem. I just have the child to enjoy.
A topic that kind of come up a lot is the balance between also this raising a kid, right? Disciplining and encouraging creativity. Are there any rules or boundaries that you have set, an example, for people to navigate between those two?
The creative process is a messy one. So you have to allow your 1-year-old child to learn how to eat on her own or on his own. But it will mean the whole kitchen floor or the dining floor will be messy because food will be thrown all over. My 3 children did that. My grandchild is doing that. But they learn. They learn to master the spoon, the fork. They learn to sit down and eat, discipline. They learn a lot, the texture of food by touching it, squashing it, and squeezing it, and throwing it. And then everyone is looking at you. What a terrible mother to allow your child to do that. And then you say that there's a process. And it gets better with time. So the creative process is messy. My youngest son, who loves to draw, paints this entire corridor floor, paints on his walls. I think I've done 7 coats of paint in his room. He will draw with color pencils, what he likes. He draws on books. And now, he's a poet. Yeah? So the creative process is messy. So adults have to be tolerant and allow this. And sometimes it's hard. They want to be creative about their hair. They want to tattoo. They want to cut. They want to color. They want to wear earrings. They want to wear funky things. They want to travel in a different way. They want to do skydive. They want to do bungee. All the experiences they want to do to be their creative individualism. So how can I set boundaries as a mother? I watch with trepidation. I pray every night when I don't hear from them. I hope that they are well. So parents really have to tuck the pain and that worry tight in their hearts and watch with clenched fists and to see them do that bungee jump under my nose. And let that be.
And where is the clear line? I mean, is there, let's take, for example, of drawing on walls. Is the clear line at the 7th coat of paint or the 12th coat of paint?
or it will never, you know, or let's not even paint it at all, and let's just keep drawing. I think, yeah. Do you have anything on that?
There's always a tug where the limits can be. Those are things when they're growing up, you can still sort of like manage it. But, you know, it's just a wall. 7 coats of paint, 15th coat is no problem for me. But what they do outside of my orbit of supervision, I don't know about, is what I worry. But they're overseas schooling, and whatever they do there, I do not know. I therefore only hope the values, instructions, and rules that they have grown up in will hold, and that they know the boundaries. It will never be me ever able to supervise the application of all those boundaries, because I'm not there. And they are travelers, and they are out of the house. Therefore, you just hope that you've given them enough of foundational values to guide and restrict their actions. And that is, I have to say now that my older son is 35, my daughter is 31, and Chun, my last one, is coming 23. And I think they have all got the set of values and rules to guide them, knowing what they should not do and where the boundaries are and where's the limit. I'm confident to say that they know those rules and limits.
What is the process of imparting those values, rules?
It starts from day one, when they were born. And then when they grow up, you know, the time to eat, I do not run around feeding them like parents do. If they don't eat, I just take it away. They'll get hungry and they'll eat, right? And then you continue to have the nag, pick up your things, arrange your rooms. You continue to have to impart on them the need for discipline, time to bed, time to write, study, and time to play. It is over years of upbringing and showing them that what you do as adults, and then they watch you as role models, they follow. And then they themselves know whatever effort they put in is the reward they get. Whether it is in the marks they get in school, or whether it is in what parents say and do for them, they will know that, and that is important for me, that they earn the credits by the effort they put in. They need to know that. It doesn't just come from the sky. So if they don't work hard enough, they lose in the game, in a sport. If they don't study enough, they lose out in the marks and in the ranking. They should know early the effort they put in is what then they get back in return. These 3 children, therefore, really know. And that's the only one big lesson that we instill in them. So I monitor them closely between 14 to 16. Because that's the most active period of individualism coming out, rejection of parental supervision. I want to find myself, and I want to discover the possibilities, right? And there's all the time when they get distracted. So those 4 years, so important to KP and myself to watch over them, friends they make, the studies, whether they're allocating enough time for study and sports and friendship and distractions. So we watch. We can't direct so closely. We watch. Then I have very good support from the teachers when they are not doing well and why. And then we work out a timetable. We allocate their management of time so that they do not overspend time for sports and neglect the school, or that we choose the classes that they actually enjoy and the discipline. And then we work with teachers who not only just look at their performance, but looking at their personality and their character development. So in that sense, I've been very fortunate. But then parents have to be involved. So I speak to teachers. I visit the schools. I work on schedules. So I help the child to grow up knowing that there are rules and there are goals. What are your goals? Work at the set of goals, work at an agenda, work at a time allocation, and we get there. And there was my eldest child at Renhua, I needed to stop his extracurricular activities because it was definitely eroding his time for studies, and therefore that was declining. But the teacher worked with me on it. So parenting is not just about you parenting the child. Parenting includes you working with resources like the school teachers and his friends to try to get to the goals that you have set for the child and the child set for himself. So I work with my children's friends. I talk to them. They are always here. We meet here, they play here, and there is the parental guidance through to the collective. Yeah. That helps. So that I know the friends he goes around with.
And I think one point people miss out a lot is the idea of attention that you give to the kids, and the attention.
I watch their journey.
Yeah, it doesn't only define you with the kids, but also you with the school, you with the relationships that they have
with their friends.
Yes,
even with their friends' parents.
Yes. I think redefining that's illuminating for a lot of parents who are listening. We're going to move a little bit into being a wife. I think people see from the outside, that a successful marriage is like the easiest thing on earth. And I'm sure both of you have put in a lot of work. What are some of the habits and rules you have to relearn or develop after marriage that you would say is very helpful to both of you for a ground or foundation of a successful?
I think there are phases in marriages that one has to recognize. And I always symbolizes the marriage an infinity symbol. It's like an 8, but it's an infinity symbol as well. So we are both individuals, 2 circles, but we are tied together in infinity by a thread that pulls us along. So the 2 circles can sometimes be flattened, can sometimes be rounder, can sometimes be a little bit oblong, but it moves along. And there's always that tension and always that fluidity of connectivity also. So that has always been something that I am aware of. We are individuals, but we are tied together. And the tying together is commitment, is marital commitment. It is, a commitment means work. It means sharing. It means responsibility, duties. So we tug along and we move along. Sometimes it's very full circles, sometimes it's flattened circles, as I said, because it deals with the dynamic changes that happens within us, around us as individuals, and around the family, because we are 2 persons, then we have got 3 with the first child, then 4 and 5, and now we have 5, and then now with the in-laws. So it is dynamically pulling along, and our attention and our service to the commitment also therefore change dynamically with the change in numbers, and when they grow up with their own individualism, it's no longer just 2 circles. There are many circles that tug on these 2 circles, because you are dealing with 3 growing adults with now their in-law, with their spouses. What does that require? Therefore, that recognition that you are building a village. The marriage is therefore contextualized also in this village. So the marriage goes through the early stage of 2 persons' intimacy and passion, to a growing family of commitment and responsibility, and then to now of consolidated strength of memories and experiences. 我们拥有, that 拥有, which is what you own, is a very powerful concept, because it really means you have given time and commitment to the relationship, spousal, parental, in-laws. There's so much of the commitment, so much of the ownership in it, is shared memory that no third party could really take it away. Because this year we are celebrating our 40th anniversary. It's a long time. It's 40 years of commitment to the marriage and the marriage in the family journey. Who can take that away? It's solid. It's investment. They are cherished memories. They are our journeys. We have grown in the 40 years and we're different. But there are certain values have not changed. For me, from whether I was 21 or was 18 or was 21, or whether I'm 26 or whether now I'm 65, going 66, the values haven't changed. The values will be that relies on self-agency. I cannot blame my husband or my children for not doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I could only blame myself for whatever I felt that I have not done. That self-agency is still mine, whether I am married or I'm not married. So that is the definition of and the importance of self-agency. My belief in the autonomy of women. So like it or not, KP has to know that he has married an independent woman. I travel on my own, I do things I like, and we negotiate the time. When I'm away or he's away, what do we do with the family? We arrange. And now with the children all not with us, we both travel and then we meet. The autonomy of one another is important. The importance to the marriage, the commitment, that is a shared job. So we both, every 3 years we change what we read, what we like, and how we dress. We change. We learn new things to keep alive the relationship. That's important. We adapt to each other's new likes. There are certain things we both don't do. We both don't golf. He loves boats, and I get seasick. And I've done my duty this weekend in this rough sea in Pattaya to go on a boat cruise that he loves, but I was sick. But I told him I've done my duty as a wife, and I don't have to do next 2 years of boat ride. So there's a lot of give and take, grow and learn together in the 40 years. We change. If you haven't changed for 40 years, my God, it's a boring marriage, yeah? But you change over and you don't mind that change. Yeah. So from self-agency to commitment to the marriage and learning to commit to the family and raising and to travel and finding common things that we both enjoy. Like now we are planning a trip where we'll be driving from Zurich to Düsseldorf because I have meetings in both places because I'm a board member in two locations. So we were going to arrange a driving expedition. He loves to drive. I don't drive. I've crashed twice. And I think it's better for the world that I don't drive and get into accidents, you know. So, but then he loves that. So we will drive it. So we have to plan for common activities. Even though one party may not like it, you give and take. He doesn't like to go attend a concert and a Chinese opera or something. He does it because of me. So that's where the give and take. So this is an important word. The give and take in Chinese is rang. You give way. You give and take and rang. You give way. You can't find that translation in English. Rang. In English, somebody say, give way. Is the best way. You give way because if you don't give way, it's a collision. In like a driving, a car is coming, you give way.
The word that come to mind is sacrifice, but that's even then that's not a good word.
No, that is not.
Yeah.
That is not the word.
Yeah.
So try to find the word rang in Chinese. It really is to give way. It's very gracious, meaning that you don't come into a direct collision. You give way. But you cannot be only person to give way all the time in life. He has to give way. You have to give way. But by giving way, you walls around each other and you avoid the collision.
I love it.
I think that's the way we have sustained 40 years.
I think also the other party also got to recognize that that you are giving way.
Then the next round, he gives way.
There you go.
There we are. So it has to not be. So there was one time I remember someone saying, Claire actually even serves tea to her husband. And I said, why not? because he serves me coffee the next day. It's the fact that not I doing it only. He will also do it. And there's so many little things that KP does that I don't do. He will do very sweet things like, when we travel or even sometimes at home, he will make sure that my toothbrush, he'll put on the Colgate. So when I get up, I could just brush my teeth. It's so sweet, right? But I do other things. I cut his hair at any time that he wants.
Wow.
And I've done that for all these decades.
Wow.
So it is all right for us to be the women to serve tea, but he also serves you coffee. And he does the Colgate thing. Is that a woman's thing? People may say so, but it's done by KP. So there are little intimacies that in a relationship, one mustn't say it is a man's job or it's a woman's job. It's what you feel in your heart the moment.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of people would be more courageous, men and women, to do those acts of service for their loved ones.
Yes.
And I'm sure you're being asked this a lot, being seen as a super mom and now a super grandma.
Hate that.
and then they look at you and they seem to have it all. And if, like, say, if a new mom, were to come up to you, they are trying their best to juggle between their professional work life, running a new business, and bringing up a baby and taking care of a husband, and feeling really overwhelmed by all of this, right? What are some of the questions you pose to her, or things that they can start thinking about?
I'll tell her it gets better every day. And I'll say, enjoy the mess, the chaos, the busyness. Enjoy it, bit by bit. Ask for help. Ask for assistance. Whether it's your mother or whether it's your friend. Learn about what I was saying earlier. 加减乘除, add, minus, subtract, eliminate. Because women need to know the eco map. They need to draw out the eco map, where their strengths are, where their weaknesses are. They also need to find out where those opportunities can be. Those opportunities can be the bosses, their husbands, their friends who could assist. And what is the biggest threat in the life stage now? The biggest threat to her health, the biggest threat to her marriage, the biggest threat to her sense of peace. She must write it down. So doing that ledger or the balance sheet is everyone's job. I don't think we do that enough.
Yes, I agree.
Sometimes you ask a man, what's the most important thing in your life? And they say, family. And then you ask next, how often do you eat with your family? He says, this week I have not eaten a meal with the family. So you believe, but you don't do. You do not walk the journey. Yeah, you need to do something.
So doing the ledger allows you to align.
Therefore, he has to minus that meeting with who and so to create time to eat with the family. He has to eliminate in order to create time with the wife.
Yeah, I think what you say reminds me of this quote that I've recently came across, which is, as a kid, you want everything. As an adult, you make trade-off. And I think that encapsulates that.
Yes.
Whatever that's important to you, do more of that.
Yes.
And whatever that's less important, do less.
Yes, but you need to sit down and work out the list of what is important to you. And then when you say it, make sure you walk that journey. And if you don't do it and you don't review it and reflect it, it may not happen, and years pass by. So the spouse or good friend need to be alongside to remind you of what's important to you. That's what the value of friendship.
And is that something you do every week, month, year, quarter?
I do have a checklist on a daily basis of what I need to do. Yeah. So for me, I don't work on the, like you do on your phone. I still go on a very traditional diary of a checklist of things I need to do. I always do it the night before, to remind me of what I think. And I also have a notebook where I write down a thought, a duty, a must do, someone to contact. I will always do. And it irks me when I do not see all the tick. It means I have not discharged my duty. Yeah? So that's a checklist. Yes, I do that on a daily basis.
So you do it a night off for tomorrow.
Yeah. And I do on an annual basis, I have a plan I work on in October for the following year. And that plan will consist of all my board meetings, all the travel plans, all the business development time that I need to allocate. I have it all planned. I'll send it out to all my related parties.
So that's yearly.
That's yearly.
Yeah.
But that yearly consists of all the quarterly must-dos
And then quarterly
already.
translate to monthly to daily.
Yeah. Then that plan is sent out to all my officers, so they know that period I provided for. And that plan is sent to KP, because he has his plan, so we need to align. If not, we'll never see each other, right? And that plan is, I will send it to my brothers, who are my mahjong takis, so that we know the weekend that's set. And these plans are also sent to my three children, so they plan their holiday with us, so that we actually will create the family time. So it's a lot of planning and a lot of trade-off and negotiation, because it will clash. Then we amend.
Yeah, in that family, 3 times a year.
Yeah, but if we
session.
don't plan, nothing will happen. Every time we then start to invite, nobody could make the time because it wasn't planned.
Yeah. I like that.
So planning is so important. Planning for family, planning for work, planning for travel, all requires planning, because now I'm dealing with 8 persons in the immediate circle. And then with the village and with all the official duties, there are schedules to work on.
When you came back to Singapore, did you guys move into a separate apartment, or do you move back into KP's family, like a traditional?
No. We looked for an apartment. It's like a 2-room flat. Wonderful. Less to clean. I didn't have help.
Got it. I was chatting with Violet, and she brought up the concept of viewing oneself as being water. Would you want to care to elaborate on
Water?
Yes.
My daughter wrote something about that in my autobiography, that mother is like water. Water is, and there's a beautiful line in Chinese that says, 细水长流. Little droplets becoming little tributaries, and they become rivers, and they become lakes, and they become the ocean. I like the metaphor of water, because water is strength, water is forceful, and water, it can get into little spaces and then create impact. So the adaptive quality of water, it's something I like to remember, and a way of describing myself. I think I'm adaptive. I can get into squares, I can get into round, I can get into crevices, I can get into the ocean. So that malleability, the adaptability are characteristics very important to me. And all the more so in this world now, which is what I call VUCA. The VUCA world, which is VUCA, is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. It's going to be even more and more so with new technology and with the digital age. There's nothing going to be so clearly black and white, something that is so certain that we can formulate our responses so quickly. And even though once we formulated it, the VUCA world has changed, and we're going to find ourselves needing a different solution. But what does that mean? The VUCA world requires a response that is versatile, that is unwavering, that is connected, focusing on connectivity, and with an attitude that always see a glass half full. You need that VUCA response, as I describe it, versatile, unwavering, connected, and and positive attitude, in order to overcome the macro VUCA world of economics. So water, I feel, has all those characteristics. As I said, water is very fluid, and it continues to flow. 细水长流. So it's, like it or not, it's going to be an element of eternity.
Are there any practices one can take on daily or yearly to be more water?
It's a mindset cognizance that respects differences, change, and not to be afraid of change and uncertainty and ambiguity. I think in uncertainty and ambiguity is actually an opportunity for becoming. That opportunity for becoming many different things is actually wonderful. Rather than such set becoming, you can become many different things, depending on situation. And that chameleon quality is actually a delightful one, a fairly colorful one, because you do not pigeonhole yourself. So you can see myself in a very formal meeting, you can see myself in a hawker center, you can see myself mad in a party, you can see myself very stern at a board meeting too. So in a way, I feel that versatility and adopting a repertoire of skill sets to manage a situation, it's something you grow with with maturity and with experiences.
I think just coming back to your point also on being water and how actually we have pretty similar view on the same idea. Was that, the fighting of oneself, your own voice versus societal voice. And, that concept of being water sort of encapsulate that. Because for me, I feel that being water is that you can have a different mask when you're in a different situation. But the person behind the mask, which is the water, still stays the same. You are a very different person when you act with your mom, and your colleagues, and with your husband. But you, it's always the same, but you can shape shift.
I flow through all of that, navigate it. Yep.
Yeah. So for me, actually, you talk about being the one's voice voicing out versus the world's voice, like what it is that you own. And for me, that water was the sort of concept that sort of ties everything together, so I can flow easily through different.
So the metaphor is that water cleanses. It takes away all the evil, angry feelings I may have. Water nourishes. It reinforces the strength within me. Yeah? A water shapes. It could shape a landscape. It could transform. So those are all a very important impact. And so I feel that water is a metaphor I like to use in the way I conduct myself within circles, in life, and at work.
We're going to dive in a little bit into reading because I read that you read very extensively.
Not quite. I don't have enough time for it. I have to read a lot of reports. I have to read a lot of the news bits. I actually listen to what people say. So in that sense, they read and then I absorb what they have read and then I process it and package it. I would like actually more time to read. But because I'm doing a National Book Development Council work, I read a lot of children's books. That's easy because it's just few words. So it's very quick to read. But actually now reading children's books as an adult is wonderful. Because you put it immediately, you digest a lot more meaning in between those words. Economy of words, but depth in understanding.
How does your planning look like in terms of your reading? Do you plan reading time into your weekly schedule?
Long flights are very good because I can do a lot more reading of the magazines, etc. And I now sometimes download books into my iPad so that I don't have to carry books around. But I actually watch a lot more movies on long flights and on a daily basis because those that I watch actually satisfy me in many different ways. It satisfies the mind because I watch classics, So like dynasties, the series in China. Yeah, so I know about China. Because that's a content for me to use when I meet with Chinese partners. We talk about the history. It is visual because they're beautiful settings. So I learn about design. And you know that I'm a retailer too. So I do the retail and design work. So it gives me colors and all that. And it gives me the language. It polishes my language competency in Chinese. So I will make a note of some of those important phrases that I can therefore use. So watching a series is not just entertainment. It's edutainment. It's purposeful because I learn about phrases. All this helped me in ice breaking with Chinese partners. It's wonderful.
And on that note, because I think you as a person, you also read a lot on Eastern philosophies and authors.
I enjoy that.
Yeah. You know, if you were to give one recommended reading for, say, for example, year 3 of a class of sociology students, you know, who would a book or an author or philosopher you would recommend them to, if you can only give one?
I will, someone with like your name, Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl.
Man's Search for Meaning.
The Man's Search for Meaning. Because one is a person of the other generation, yet I think his views transcends all centuries. It's also a search on the self-agency and on the meaning and purpose. I will fully recommend any adult young person to start reading him.
We're going to dive in a little bit into routines and habits. How does your first 90 minutes of your day look like? Habits, rituals.
First 90?
Yeah. When you wake
Clean
up.
your teeth.
Oh, okay, yes, with the toothbrush. Yep.
Yeah, clean your teeth. And something that I kind of realized that not many people do. And it's something that I was brought up with. Towel your face. People clean their face with all these lotions and all that. I don't. I don't have that habit. I towel it. I use a towel and just clean my face.
Is it a warm, wet towel?
Towel. And just clean.
This is dry towel.
No, wet.
Oh, wet.
Wet towel.
Wet towel.
Towel your face.
With clear water.
Yeah, if not, I will not start the day. I do not feel my day has started.
And what time does it usually...
First thing, after you brush your teeth, you towel your face.
6 a.m. or...
Oh, no way lah. You know, when I wake up, like, it could be 8 o'clock, anytime. Anytime. The first habit is brush your teeth and towel your face. There are 2 things I could not do without in the morning, and the day has not begun. Now, toweling is that I just get water and just towel. That's all I do. I don't go into all the cosmetic bit that I hear women do. Because I don't have that habit. Yeah.
And afterwards...
And this is something I do since I was a child. Toweling your face. And then I learned from afterwards or something, this is actually a very good habit because it's actually already a form of exfoliation and what do you call that? Exercising your face. Then it's stretch.
Stretch.
Then it's a stretch.
Okay.
Because I do Tai Chi. So I learned some of the stretch. So I think for our age, the avoiding of fall is very important. So stretching, just 拉筋, doing the stretch and turning your body are some of the basics that I learned. So 3 things lah. Clean your teeth, towel your face, and stretch your body.
And when did you start? I mean, you have a to-do list prepared for the day before.
Before I dress.
Last night, right? And then when did you start to look into your to-do list and start marking things off? Is it once you step out of the house, reach the office, or?
The first thing in the morning when I get up, I do that. Then in the office and throughout the day, there are 2 things I do. Stretching. I continue to do that. I need it. Because I need to stretch, I need to turn, I need to get out, every time 1 hour or 2 hours sitting down, I do that. And before I do that, I will do the stretch. I do the stretch. Another one is called a centering. Because I move about in many different meetings.
Come back to a bit of the Tai Chi thing. If people want to know more about that, where will you point them to?
I actually have a Tai Chi class every Tuesday night with a group of sisters.
Okay.
6 of us.
Yeah.
We have a teacher. So we have done that for 2 years now. So we will meet and then learn the Tai Chi about stretching, breathing, and then movement. So when we are at home, we would therefore do some of those movements of learning. So I learned about focus, attention, and stretching. And now I combine dance movements with Tai Chi.
And for someone who wants to know more, where will you point them to?
Come to me.
Okay. Or a teacher, or
I get a teacher.
Okay,
yeah. The Wutan Association in Singapore is very active.
Okay.
They've got classes.
Yeah.
I think.
Can I find a link, or is there? Because I'm going to put it on the.
I don't know now.
Okay,
I can give it.
Yeah, I'll find it online. If I can't find it, I'll come to you.
No, you have to just go to the associations because they will not do private sessions like the way.
Right. I mean, I'll find the address.
Check Wutang Association.
Yeah, Wutang Association.
Google Wutang Association. Okay. I really feel that is a very holistic body management on breathing, posture, movement, and stretching. And for me, there was one time I was asked to give a talk, and I got the whole 300 people to stand up to do stretching. And they feel so good after that. And it's just something so simple. You can do it anywhere, in the toilet, in your office, on the plane, when you are before a meeting. It immediately revitalizes you. Now, the other concept I have, very important, is called centering. Because I found myself doing so many different things in the last 3 decades. And there's business, there's community, there is politics, there's business. I get into many different frames. How do I change? People say change of air. Yes, breathing. But I think it is the mind. I find that I needed to, let's say, get into a toilet or get into a space where I just center. That center is really about emptying some of our thoughts and breathe, and then getting into the next frame, the agenda. I need to get away from this agenda. I need to get into another agenda.
So how would this, 10 minutes?
It could be sometimes 5 minutes, could be 10 minutes. 10 minutes is good. 5 minutes is good enough. If not, it's 10 minutes very good. It's really getting into a moment of emptying your thoughts of your of your earlier meeting, and then getting into just breathing exercise. Just breathe, eliminate. Breathe, eliminate. Breathe, and then get into a frame of your next. So I find myself doing that very often, and it is very helpful. It's very helpful because you need to sort of prepare and poise. You create the poise for the next meeting.
Would you say this is some form of like meditation?
Not deep meditation, because I going into a silent retreat or all that. I've done that. I've done a silent retreat, but of course that is for me only 5 hours, whereas my daughter will go and do like 5 days. I've got into breathing exercises and all that. I've got to those sessions. I've done some basic yoga. And all that, yes. I learned some of the basic techniques, so I apply that for myself in between schedules to use it to position myself. That's something I feel anyone can do. They have no excuse to say they have no time. You don't need to go and get all your gear to go and enroll and get into a class and pay for it and do it. It's such a process that you may not want to get to do it. Actually, just get in Google and learn some basic positions, and then you can read it and then apply it and do it with some friends, and you can do it anytime.
Is there something you're trying to currently improve in your life, and how do you plan on or think about doing it? Because I think everyone look at you as like such a person who have it all, right? But I'm sure, if there's...
For this next 5 years, I would like to do more of connecting the dots, working with the village that I have, whether it is women or whether it is family, to see where I can be the water to flow through and connect. I will continue to do that because that gives me a lot of joy and deep satisfaction. I like to find a chunk of time to read more and write. The autobiography that I did when I was 60 needs to be translated to English. I've just got too many demands for the English version. So I need to update that and write. I like to continue to make reading to children, for children, facilitating writers, illustrators to create more Asian content for children. Because I think children need new nourishment. We need new content. We need the Asian content. We don't need to read Cinderella only. We need to read kopitiam stories. We need to read what Singaporeans write about Singapore. We are 52 years old, Singapore, right? Yeah. And we need the content to capture the stories and narratives for our children. I would love to go back to dancing if my bones allow. I grew up with dancing because that was what my mother put me through as a health management strategy. But I love it. I love dancing. I love to learn to dance, new kind of dance forms. If it's, not what hip hop. No.
Oh
no. Not the fair, but just dancing, So when I discovered this dance yoga with this Indian classical dancer, our teacher, it was wonderful. It is such free form. She taught us some basic Indian dance forms, techniques, and then you put on the music. Depending on what you feel and what you're good at, you just dance. It's free form. With the music and learning the dance form that she taught us, whether it is stretching or whether it's a hand movement or whether it's a body movement, it was wonderful. It's all about stretching and breathing and expressing. I like to do more of that.
So let's just dive into a quick round of questions. The answer is short, but the question is short, but the answers don't need to be. What are some books you have given most as a gift?
Very selfishly, I've given away a lot of books by my youngest son. His book of poetry. Yes. Because it was such for me a creative product and something that he's done on his own, which I'm very proud of. And I have a lot of copies of it. So that's recently something that I've given out a lot. Or else it's been books that...
The name and
Shrines.
Okay.
Yeah, Shrines and Strengths.
People can find it.
Yeah, I'll show you. Yes. Yeah. The other one that I support, writers. So there are Willie Lim's books. Recently was Ho Peng Ki's books on his own stories of his political life. So I support writers like that. So I buy them in bulk and start to give. And children's books like Water. So
Water is a children's book.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I'll give you a copy afterwards.
Who's the author?
It's written by two persons, co-partnering. One is Christopher Chiang, in Australian and Chinese, and one is Susanna Quek from Singapore. And she's the illustrator, and Christopher is the writer. And that book has been translated to Chinese and to Tamil. Wow. And this is what we do. It's about water.
I mean, we want to do a fair bit of explaining about that book, for people who want to.
That was part of our gift in the Asian Festival for Children's Content, when that book was produced, and that was launched during the festival some years ago.
It's really good for young.
It is only for children.
Oh, okay.
It's really to appreciate water, the value of water, and that book spins off to many other forums, seminars, and even PUB, was engaged in it, so that we want people to appreciate water. Because my generation, we actually queue for water. Yeah, there were some dry seasons when we had to switch off all the taps and we all have to queue to get buckets of water home. This bucket is for washing, this bucket is for food, this bucket is, rationing.
So strine and water.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your favorite documentary or movie?
I like to watch Chinese not documentary, but movies. Some of them are documentaries where they will interject with filmlets, but they talk about the various dynasties, about the different emperors and what they do, etc. I like that. The one that I'm watching now is the Qin.
The Qin.
Qin dynasty. Da
Qin,
Qin. Yeah, the Qin dynasty. And they talk about and I like and I also like the Qing Chao, or the three emperors. Yeah. Yongzheng Huangchao, Kangxi.
Wow. Can I find that on the internet or like a link somewhere?
These are old documentaries.
Okay.
These are old documentaries. And then you have also the movies. They try to, create those dynastic struggles. So the one I'm watching was on Xiang Yu and on Liu Bang. That means the start of the Han dynasty.
If I would have tried to find out on the internet, what should
I would give it to the title so everyone knows.
Okay. Yeah, I want to put a link so people know. What have you purchased recently under $100 that has most impacted your life?
A correct weighing machine.
Okay, what brand?
Because there was some machine that actually doesn't work very well. It sort of tells you you're always at the weight, so you're very happy. Finally got a new one. I said, oh my gosh, So that has correctly weighed us. And then when I see that on a very heavy week of gourmet expeditions, whoa, it goes up to like 55, 54. Say, the next 3 days will be no carb, no meat, salads. And so it instructs me and guides me on my dietary management and my events management. So I will aim at 52, which is the right balance. And anytime it shoots up to 54, I know what I have to do the next week.
Do you like your weighing machine so much as to recommend to others?
I will let you know. It's just a very simple square piece of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's less than $100,
right,
I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's a brand that people can...
No, it's just having a good... because even if it's a bad one, it registers you, it benchmark you. Then you use that as a benchmark and you work yourself up, or down. But that, I tell you, has been a specter. It's a morning ritual. After the cleaning teeth, after the toweling, it's a weighing machine. You look at your weight. And then you know today, in lunch, what you order, if you're invited. Should you go with steak or should you just take salads? And then you also know the next 3 days, if you have all these dinners lined up, you better watch it that go for fish or eat less or something. It tells you about your dietary management, which is very important. Because if not, you just eat, right? And because all the food is so delicious, you don't care about your weight.
What is the worst advice you see or hear being dispensed in your circle?
Worst advice? Very hard to say worst advice. I thought about the worst advice given to me. I can't think of one.
They're all good.
No. They're not that good because you don't really know whether it was good or bad until afterwards. When it happened, right? Then things happen, right? But I haven't had such disasters to then say that was such a terrible advice. There are little trivial ones, not to go for this meeting, or they're so trivial. But I hear parents telling, and I see storyline in movies, when parents tell daughters, go and find a rich man. I think that's a terrible advice. Because it doesn't mean that she'll be happy. And it doesn't mean that he will be forever rich. And it also doesn't mean that wealth means something you should look at for a man, in a man. So this, I feel, is a bad advice. In the same way, telling another man, go look for a pretty girl, is also a bad advice. Because these are all superficial.
Are there any advice for your 28-year-old self? And 38-year-old self, and maybe place us where I at.
At 28, you would have finished your university, you would have worked for 5 to 6 years. I would say it's time to be serious, to plan what your next venture. At 28 old, start your own business. If you have something that you're passionate about, that's the time you can start. At 38, if you're not married, think of marrying. Find the right man, have a child. If you're already married, this is also the time. Your children will be very young. So enjoy that growth. Be part of that journey.
And where were you at 38?
I lost my mother. I suddenly felt I was the woman in the family, the woman and the mother in the family. No, I lost my father. And my mother had a stroke when I was 30. So I knew about health management early because I was the only girl in the family. Mother had a stroke. I had to be the one to change, nurse, wash her. I learned early. So when father left when I was 36, I felt that I was like the caregiver of mother. And then I lost my mother at 46. Then I became the mother, woman, sister in the clan, so-called. Yeah. So at 38, I just lost my father. My son was really young, just about 7 or 8. Then I had my daughter. So I was a young mother, raising 2 kids and doing part-time teaching at the university.
Any advice would you, if you were to, for her?
Life gets better. And that, enjoy the family. Sure. Every day is yet another day. You just do it better.
When you think of the word successful, who came into your mind and why?
The notion of success for me, it's about someone who comes to terms with himself or herself. And I don't see a huge lot of that in what people think are successful people. Because I think sometimes discontent is actually the driver of achievement. But the sense of success is not tied to that, always. And back to what I said earlier, someone who knows himself, herself, and his or her situations, and able to come to terms with it all, and be service to the community, and is happy in this position character, is a very successful person. And that is rare. I see in what we call successful personality, but I see a lot of discontent. I see a lot of their dysfunctions. I see a lot of tension in the company. Do you call that successful? Not sure. They have achieved a lot. I'm not entirely sure that is called successful. So there are some people whom I feel are very average in all the indices of what you see as tangible achievement, but are people who know themselves, who know themselves well, know where their limits are, able to yet be very embracing and nurturing, and coming to terms with life, with it all. I really feel they have a very successful life in that sense, although you may count on their achievements as not huge. So I think it's a matter of perspective.
What are some of the most common misconceptions about you or your work?
Oh, that I'm wealthy from the day one. When I tell them that I live in a 2-room flat, no way. I say that I have a double-decker bed, I slept with all my brothers. Wow! And I explain to them about the canvas room, they don't know what it is. And when I was given only $15 a day, a month, for my university years. And with that, I manage my books, my dresses, my shoes, everything. So I know a lot about budgeting. So people just think that, Claire is wealthy from day one. So that's the biggest misconception about my origin, my growing up, and who I am.
Other than the morning routines that we talk about, are there any other habits or rituals that you find important for in your life?
Watching videos. Because I don't sit and just watch. I do that maybe just 1 hour, just to get myself off from the day's effort. I put it on and use my ear and listen while I do other things. So that has been something that I grew up as a child because I only had rediffusion. We didn't have TV until I was 16. So we depended on that $5 rediffusion. So I listened every evening, 5 p.m., rush home to listen to Lei Tai Saw. I listen to story. So storytelling and narratives are so important to me because that's how I learn. I listen to all my seniors when they they talk about their work. I listen. Being a youngest child, I listen to the family elders talking. I listen. I listen to rediffusion. So storytelling is something that I grew up with and I really like. So that is something I always end the day with. Listening, watching a video and listening sometimes, or watching it for a little while before I go. I always sleep with a story, with a storyline.
Are there any asks or requests for the audience? Last parting words, thoughts to take away, to consider, to try, or otherwise?
In life, there are ups and downs, and I really feel when you identify all those barriers and all the no's and the nasty things, get over it. Get over it. And just do it. It's a Nike way. Just do what you want to do that day. It is in doing we gain strength. We forget the pain. We substitute bad memories. It's by doing, not by talking, not by thinking, not by dreaming, not by hoping. It's by doing. Roll up our sleeves, get onto the job. By doing, all the processes will kickstart, and you will forget the pain, you will forget the nastiness, and you're already substituting by doing new memories. And that will be like a bandage, take away the earlier injury. And be real. The last thing is be yourself. Now, this is like very cliche, be yourself. How do you be yourself? It's a journey of continually doing things, finding yourself, making mistakes, picking up yourself, and doing it again, that you will then know who you are and what you want. And then be able to justify why you are doing what you are doing. You need to take the steps. And there are many, many, many different steps.
Are there any upcoming projects that people can look forward to?
Yes. Come to the festival, Asian Festival for Children's Content, and be delighted by the 100 new titles that Singaporeans have written for children in May 17th to the 23rd.
I hope this is going out before then.
Okay. or come to join me in the Republic Polytechnic, where I have faculty, students, and teachers to tell us the importance of low glucose food. We do not eat well. We eat hawker food that is too rich in oil, salt, and sugar. So we need to learn about caring for the body, because as parents, we need to learn how to provide food that is nutritious and healthy for the next generation. So join me in the Shireen Foster program in some of these Conference on the Move visits we make that help to inform us on how we should manage our health.
And the last question will be, where can people find you or your projects on the interweb?
I'm not the generation of using all this technology. So I have very specific organizations that can actually access the website. One will be NBDCS, National Book Development Council of Singapore. The other will be Shireen Foster Program in SMU. You can find all the programs, the activities there, and they are all free. Come.
Okay, we're done. Thank you
Wonderful.
for your time.
Okay.